Alright. Here we are streaming another tournament set. Today is Chykka versus Zain. Let's see. Looking for confirmation if anybody is tuned in that my audio is working properly. Just want to make sure before I move on. Chykka running Iaquis, Chun-Li, Treasure Knight from seasons 2, 3, and 4 respectively. That's 7th Cross, Street Fighter, and Shovel Knight. Did I say Shovel Knight or did I say Treasure Knight? I meant Treasure Knight from the season, Shovel Knight. Zain running Eugenia, Sea Viper 9 from seasons 2, 3, and 5. That's 7th Cross, Street Fighter, and Blaze Blue, respectively. Alright. Players have chosen their starting characters. So let's switch to Tabletop Simulator and take a look at the action. Once I find the button. There we are. They have not revealed their starting characters, but they have chosen them. They're in these bags here. So let's see. We appear to have Treasure Knight and Sea Viper. Alright. Ooh, Sea Viper, a very aggressive Miss Midspeed over here, who likes to punch through defensive characters, against Treasure Knight, who is a slow defensive character, but who also is very high on economy and resources, which something Sea Viper is notorious for struggling with. This will be very exciting. Players are setting up their reference areas. Alright. Coin toss. Winner chooses who goes first. Alright, thank you for confirming, Mikado. Here we go. Oh, I should fill in the thing on the right. Well, you know. Whoops. That's not the right, that's the left, as it turns out. There you go. Okay. Oh, that name goes right off the display, doesn't it? Well, we'll just accept that. Okay. Wait a second. We lost one of our players. Alright, back to the interstitial. Please hold. I wonder what that noise was. Well, I know it wasn't me, since we only lost one of our players. That's good. Apologies for the delay. Alright, just checking on Tabletop Simulator Global Chat. Looks like there are some widespread issues going on. It was Zain who dropped and was temporarily unable to see the room. But yeah, based on the reports coming in TTS Global Chat, that is currently just going on all over the place. Hopefully we won't have too many stability issues, but this is the nature of it. The platform is not 100% stable. Can't be helped. Alright, well, Zain has reconnected. So, fingers crossed that we get to stick around this time. Alright, I'm not sure who won the coin toss. I wasn't in voice with them, so I couldn't tell what was called. Depending on if they remember, they might just redo the toss. Oh. Alright, hang tight. Apologies for the inconvenience, folks. Alright. Going to recreate the room. We will be delayed by a few minutes here. That was the sound of Tabletop Simulator reopening. Alright, we appear to be back in business. Back to Tabletop Simulator. Alright, looks like Viper's taking first turn. I need to stop hitting that button. Alright. Let's see. Looks like Treasure is mulling 3. Sea Viper also mulled 3. Alright, Sea Viper using character ability right off the bat. Boost with lights. Character ability is after you resolve a continuous boost you may strike. Resolve means once it enters play after all immediate effects have been performed. So a continuous boost is resolved not when it leaves play, but when it enters play. Alright, and we have the dive coming in against the focus. That'll be pretty good for Treasure Knight. A Wild Swing focus means he doesn't lose any cards from hand, and he gets to trade against this dive. 5 power over 2 armor is 3 damage, and then he hits back for 4 and draws a card, putting him in hand size of 7. Alright, so Sea Viper gets into melee, where both players are a little uncomfortable. Sea Viper thrives in the mid-ranges of 2 to 3. Treasure Knight actually preferring to hang out at range usually 5 in my opinion, although he's decent at 2. And not too bad at 1, because he's perfectly willing to just trade blows. Alright, it's Treasure Knight initiating, probably looking to play something relatively safe, like a sweep or a grasp, to quickly accelerate to 3 gauge so that he can exceed, and gain his much stronger exceed ability. Alright, Sea Viper taking a moment to, looks like, review the reference, to decide what it is that she thinks she's afraid of. Most of Treasure Knight's specials are underwhelming at range 1. She plays Grasp, which does hit the sweep. She's going to hit first for 3, then take 6 and lose a card. This renders her very low on resources, which could be an issue. Takes out a block, not the end of the world. That is fairly low value for a Viper player. On the other hand, she also wants to hit 3 gauge because, like Treasure Knight, she becomes far more threatening in Exceed mode, although for a very different reason. Treasure initiating, telegraphing something on curve, but it could be a punishing mid-speed. Or Anchor Launch, always a terrifying threat. Anchor Launch is a very, very powerful projectile and a force special. Although for Treasure Knight, the force special is strictly upside because he never has to actually pay this cost unless he wants to. Alright, assaults. Alright, looks like Sea Viper played dive on defense, which was incorrect. She's going to get hit for 4. Treasure Knight moving that card to gauge and then spending it immediately to exceed. Treasure Knight has when you exceed pull up to 3, affectionately known as a kicker. I think that term is actually formalized as of the Season 5 rulebook. Probably going to pull her into the corner so that he can control the center of the board. Yep, takes her, pulls 2 spaces, she takes the wall. Treasure Knight now at 6 cards in hands. Alright, stylish. Sea Viper has resources again. This boost is her main source of economy along with her exceed mode. Looks like she is going to use Cheater to boost Light out of her discard pile, and then since Light has now been resolved for her character ability, she is striking with an EX attack. Well, this is, there's a host of mix-ups available here, but the most obvious threat is Spike, since a Speed 6 Spike beats any single card that Treasure Knight could play. Now, she did not pay a gauge, so this is not critical, which means something like a Thunder Knuckle or a Burning Kick is much lower value than a Spike. What does she got? Alright, we have a Cross. And it is a Spike. Alright, that hits for 6. Whew. Sea Viper gets her 3rd gauge, and life starts to level out a bit. This is very dangerous for Treasure Knight. See, Sea Viper also has a when you exceed effect. Hers doesn't pull the opponent, though. It instead draws her a ton of cards. Yep, 6 power is going to take Treasure Knight to 18 life. That is correct. Alright, Treasure Knight stuns. It is now his turn. On the other hand, because of his exceed ability, giving him basically a 1 force discount on literally any force cost, he has a wealth of options. He could make like Ryu and just retreat 1 for free, take extra long move actions, or he could just strike. I guess this is probably the other cross. Yep, looks like it. Sea Viper going to invalidate that and reveal a replacement, Thunder Knuckle. Treasure Knight wins the strike, takes 3 and retreats to range 5. Sea Viper is stunned and discards her attack. Also, we lost Chykka, so we're going to wait a minute for the player to disconnect. Reconnect, excuse me. Player already disconnected, we don't need to do that again. Yep. Apparently today is just going to be plagued by technical issues. That's the way of it. I'll check in the player status. While talking from him about the resultant board state, Treasure Knight initiated. That'll put him at range 5, where he has 2 major threats, Treasure Coin and Anchor Launch. See, Viper only has 1 card she can threaten at range 5, that is Seismic Hammer. Although it's pretty good into both of those, not nearly as good into Anchor Launch. However, she is likely to exceed, because when she exceeds she draws 5 cards, then 1 for end of turn, putting her at her maximum hand size of 7, without wasting any resources or time. Alright, looks like Chykka's back in the fight. Yep, okay. And Viper's going to exceed, there it is, full reload. Now she does not have Gauge to critical Seismic Hammer, so Seismic Hammer is not currently viable on defense. On offense, she can make a critical via her character ability. But yeah, nothing actually beats Treasure Coin here, if Treasure Knight has it. Anchor Launch is beatable by the other copy of Dive, but it's on the other hand, Anchor Launch is very, very punishing, so he might swing it on the hope that she didn't get the other Dive. She's moved through her deck fairly aggressively. It looks like Treasure Knight's going to retreat 1 to range 6, where she has no threats whatsoever. Viper playing the boost on Cross, that's Run to advance 3, make up some grounds, buying her the space she needs to make a threat that matters. Treasure Knight could, of course, just continue moving around and try to drain her resources, but Viper now has a very large hand. It's going to be hard to do that, hard to get out of her way long enough to build up a good defense. Now, he could start playing boosts. That is a fairly common Treasure Knight play. However, 1 boost from Treasure Knights, there we go, yep, there's Defend, often does not equal 1 boost and then a strike from her. However, with Defend up, we know that she's out of spikes, and at range 3 she can't play her other copy of Thunder Knuckle. So this makes him relatively safe. He's really only vulnerable to Dive or potentially a Seismic Hammer, although Seismic Hammer comes with its own drawbacks. Alright, looks like both players searching see Viper's discard pile. I want to make sure they know what is up and what is down. At range 3, see Viper has access to a good number of options. 3 is the default mix-up range. She likes playing stuff that's on curve, meaning speed 5 at range 3. Typically plays Burning Kick, Assaults, what's the other one? Emergency Combination, that sort of thing. But it all depends what she has access to, of course. She's also perfectly willing to play mix-up threats. We know that both of Treasure Knight's crosses are down, so she can play a mid-speed with a more reliable chance of hitting. Although with both spikes down, I think her only mid-speeds left are Seismic Hammer and Dive. And 1 Dive is down as well. See Viper checking Treasure Knight's discard pile, looking to evaluate what threats have disappeared from the Briny Depths. Might also be considering a reading here, which would be pretty cheeky, but, well, if it works, the payout tends to be very, very good. Stylish! Alright, she's going to draw 3 cards and take another action. This makes sense. Puts her at a ton of resources. Gives her a very high chance of having an EX attack to deploy. Using her character ability on top of an EX can often create unbeatable strikes, meaning she gets full value out of that Stylish, unless something goes horribly wrong. But we know that both of Treasure Knight's crosses are down, and let's see, both of her spikes, and 1 of her dives. The question is, what can she do to make an unbeatable strike against a defend boost? We'll find out shortly. That's a pretty good answer. Hit, spin up to 4 force for each 4 spent, plus 1 power. So she is up to plus 4 power on top of whatever it is that she's about to throw. This, now notably, he has a plus 1 armor, plus 3 guard boost, so unless she ignores armor or guard, which at range 3 she can't, without spike, which is down, this essentially just neutralizes the value of that boost. However, that can still be very, very important. Let's see what she's got. Looks like she is setting a single... nope, my mistake, that's an EX attack. I'm blind, ignore me. Treasure responds with a single card. It is the block. Alright, Treasure playing very conservatively. She has at least 6 power. Do this before effect, an emergency combination. Deciding how much force she wants to spend. Notably, Treasure Knight already has 5 armor, so he would take 1 damage right now. The reason he has 5 armor, by the way, is that there's 2 on block, 1 on defend, and he can spend 1 force for free with his character ability. Alright, she's paying for +1, that is 7 power. So currently he's taking 2 damage. Unless I miscounted, but I don't think I missed her discarding anything. So Treasure Knight deciding, is he going to pay a force or is he going to take damage? A life lead of 5 is not very much in a matchup like this one. Oh, discarding an Ultra apparently. That's a bit excessive. Certainly covers his bases though. He has abundant armor. Probably just doesn't think that Ultra is going to be of value to him in the near future. Which is reasonable. It's a good Ultra, has stun immunity, which is a big deal here. But at range 2 to 4 and speed 1, it very often loses to anything with movements. Let me just show you that angle call right there. Some of the best art though. Like the absolute best art. In Season 4. Alright, well that was Sea Viper's turn. She didn't gain advantage, so now it's over to Treasure Knight's. Looks like he's going to boost the other defense. Alright, Treasure Knight planning on grinding out a win. He knows that both of Sea Viper's spikes are down, so her options to break through his defenses are limited. I think she still has both copies of Burning Kick up, so she's not completely without options. Ah, cheater. Well, probably going to be a Stylish, perhaps a Light or an Electrifying. There's the Stylish, yep. Playing Stylish at essentially every opportunity is how Sea Viper goes through her deck fast enough to have all the options she needs to kill the opponent before they have time to set up their defenses. Like, we're currently seeing a Sea Viper with more resources than Treasure Knight, even though Treasure Knight has exceeded. That's kind of remarkable. And Stylish is what makes it possible. Unfortunately, her guaranteed payouts are in her discard pile, so she's going to have to take a risk here. Probably. Maybe not a very big risk, but a risk of some sort nonetheless. Okay, +1 power and ignore armor. And an EX attack. Alright. Well, it's definitely not emergency combination or burning kick. Assault would typically be a telegraph. I'm not sure if she's already dropped an assault, though. I kind of think she has. But assaults and seismic hammer are probably the main telegraphs. Seismic hammer would lose hideously to an EX assault on defense here, but otherwise be safe against everything. Treasure Knight without High Tide in play struggles against attacks with a lot of movement, which Seismic Hammer actually does have a lot of movement on it. Move up to 2, coming in at range 3, gives her tremendous positioning control. Easily her best source of movement. Alright, looks like he's playing the Dive, which is going to lose horribly. I'm not sure if that was a wild swing, but yeah, this is a speed 5 Seismic Hammer, hitting for 7, ignoring armor. That does stun. She does not gain advantage, but she does get up in his face at range 1. It's now Treasure Knight's turn. Treasure Knight again, very likely to play loose. Now there is still 1 copy of Blazing unaccounted for, I believe. This boost is very important in the matchup because ignore armor out of nowhere can significantly devalue Treasure Knight's boosts. He has a boost that's +2 armor, a boost that's +1 power, +1 armor, and a boost that is +3 armor. And as you can imagine, if your opponent suddenly strikes with ignore armor, well, feels a little bad to have spent a turn tossing one of those into play. Okay, here's the middle weight of that set. It is +1 power, +1 armor. I guess it's the lightweight actually. So there's not a lot of armor being put into play, but this +1 power and this hit effect are both very, very valuable. That hit effect in particular could be crucial to retrieve a specific answer or a specific question. That's assuming he doesn't get stunned, of course. +1 armor helps a lot with that, but against Viper it's hard to guarantee anything. Alright, looks like Treasure Knight is checking Sea Viper's discard pile. It is now Sea Viper's turn. Hand of 4 cards with 5 cards in deck. This should give you a sense of how quickly Sea Viper can go through that deck. She wants to boost hidden weapons, stylish, exceed, do all the things that let her draw a bunch of cards in rapid succession so that she can kill you before you ever have the chance to draw your answers. Alright, we have a Fierce and Strike. This is implicitly critical thanks to her exceed ability. So the mix-up is real. Well, unless Treasure Knight has a grasp, in which case he can outspeed or guarantee it. Although outspeeding her does not necessarily guarantee he wins the strike. This could, I think, be a sweep or a focus. I believe we've seen one sweep drop, but only one. I could be mistaken, of course. I'm not keeping very careful track. Alright, Treasure Knight inspecting her discard pile, trying to decide what exactly it is that he wants to deploy. In response, I'm not sure... Well, she doesn't have a range 1 ignore armor without playing a boost. So if he has a block, he probably plays it, just so that he can kind of suck up this attack. He could also play Grasp to be sure that he outspeeds, although he risks taking a ton of damage in return, but he would at least guarantee his hit effect. Or a Focus, which would have a 3 armor, 5 guard, which is definitely not safe against this +2 power, unless I've miscounted and both copies of Temple Massage are down. I think I remember one of these dropping, but Temple Massage would allow her to crush even Focus. I think both Thunder Knuckles are now down, or that would also let her crush Focus. She cannot threaten any Ultras, she doesn't have the necessary gauge for it. And Sweep would not crush Focus, so Focus is reasonable, and she would certainly get value, or sorry, he would certainly get value out of the armor. But getting crushed would actually be a huge, huge loss. It also assumes responding from hands. Obviously, if you wild swing, you're spending one fewer card, which, at this moment in this matchup, is actually a pretty big deal. Every card counts, and here they are counting cards. Well, while we wait, get some water. It's good for you. Only been streaming about half an hour, and the game's been going on much less than that because of the technical difficulties at the start of the stream, but nonetheless. You're watching a Treasure Knight game, it's thematic. Alright, initiating with a Focus. Oh, man. Alright, well, Dive Charge is going to trade pretty heavily, but it does trade. So this hits and pushes 3, but it can't push, so it gets +3 power instead, for a total of 7 power. That's going to deal 5, which does not break Focus. Treasure Knight also needs to decide his hit effects, which is mandatory, interestingly. And then he will take 5 damage in return, because he has 1 armor. What he chooses to return could be a huge, huge deal here. Reasonably likely to be block, or just a boost that he wants to play on his next turn. Viper did initiate that, so it is Treasure Knight's turn next. So he's probably going to pick up whatever it is that he wants to actually play immediately. Or just a block to be a little bit safer on defense. Block notably has the issue of, I think she still has a Blazing. Yep, both players inspecting C Viper's discard pile, trying to figure out what her remaining 7 cards are. With the deck this thin, it isn't too hard to figure it out. Well, we will be waiting for Treasure Knight to make his decision. Oh, what's this? Angler Call is being returned to hands. Reasonable. That attack has stun immunity and also 3 armor, so it is going to be useful to have around as a threat. It's also just a source of force if Treasure Knight tends to move or change cards, things like that. Sea Viper hits back for 5 and draws for her after, or sorry, 6 minus 1 equals 5 because of 1 armor, so yes, 5 was correct. I just wanted to state that explicitly. And draws a card. Alright, it is now Treasure Knight's turn. So the telegraph here is high tide into Angler Call, which is a very, very hard to beat setup. However, at 6 life, he would then be banking very hard that Sea Viper does not have that blazing and the ability to kill him through it. Oh, I should probably show you what high tide looks like. It's this boost over... Where is it? Here. Alright, looks like he is boosting Anchor Zip. Now, notably, he chose... Oh, what? 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I think we're just lagging a little bit. Alright. Lag aside, he chose to advance 4, draw 2 cards, draw for in turn. Sea Viper then chose to advance 3. Sorry for the lag. Well, Treasure Knight got out of melee. Now he's back in melee. Same situation as before. We know that he has an Angler Call. However, Angler Call is not going to help him very much with survivability at this stage. It's reasonable to initiate with, but it's not going to hit at range 1. And that's an issue. He could boost it, but I often personally consider it to be a pretty low value boost, except for very specific situations. I like it if you are confident that you can secure the hits in early game, because it lets you get to your Exceed mode quickly. I should probably show you what that boost looks like. It's this hit, spin up to 2 force. For each force spin at the top of your discard to your gauge, then draw a card per 2 cards in your gauge. Notably, that is a for each loop, so if you pay 2 force, you will add the top card of your discard pile to your gauge and draw a card for every 2 cards in your gauge. Then you will add the top card of your discard pile to your gauge and draw a card for every 2 cards in your gauge. You will perform the entire effect twice if you spend 2 force. And that is a hit effect, meaning it happens during strikes, so it works with both his Exceed ability and his character ability. We have a force expenditure from the look of it, going to get rid of some normals. Looks like, counting the cost out, it's going to pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5, yep, that checks out. Discarding and drawing for end of turn. Sea Viper looking to either advance or change cards, most likely. Might have actually found a play. She seems to be slowing down. Not sure if she has a seismic hammer left. We know one is down. We can see it right there in her gauge. But that and dive are her only range 4 options. In this specific board state as well, Treasure cannot threaten Maelstrom Chest, which is rather important in my opinion. Did she EX Seismo? Alright, well in that case Seismo is definitely down. Why would I know that? I was only watching the whole time. Alright, both players inspecting Viper's discard pile again. 6 cards left now, shouldn't be too hard to figure out what everything is. The Viper has to make some risk-reward decisions. She can't play the resource game forever against Treasure Knight, and it seems like both players probably know that. Treasure Knight trying to scamper away so he doesn't have to endure a strike in melee, where she could potentially just kill him outright. Another lag spike. Alright, she's going to advance 1 and draw for turn. She goes to range 3. Maelstrom Chest is now a threat. If Treasure initiates with an EX, we can probably say goodbye to Viper. What have we got? Even 1 card is pretty hard for her to answer. Both of her crosses are down, I believe. Treasure Knight checking his discard pile. And Sea Viper also checking his discard pile. How many cards left over here? 15? Treasure Knight's gone through only half his deck. Yeah. Alright, taking the reshuffle action from the look of it. Alright, there we go. And drawing for turn. Makes sense. They are well past the mid-game marker. And it's not likely either player is going to run out of cards. If either one is, Sea Viper is still the one likelier to do so. Alright. Treasure Knight holding a wide variety of threats. Blazing, alright, +1 power, ignore armor, striking with 1 card. Is this the EX Maelstrom chest? Sure is. Alright. That'll kill her. If he has the force for it, which he does. He's Treasure Knight. Alright, that ends the game in Treasure Knight's favor. Hit effect spin up to 4 force, he gets 1 for free and he has 2 cards in hand, so we know that he can hit 8 damage. She has no armor, so that'll do it. Game 1's Treasure Knight. Mastodon. I'll let the players set up and choose their next characters. Treasure Knight being victorious is now eliminated. Gonna adjust my overlay. Alright, that leaves Chykka with Iaquis and Chun-Li. Zain still has access to Eugenia, Sea Viper, and 9, and can play any of them. I have to admit, I'm a little surprised at the at not initiating with Maelstrom Chest when he had the chance. But, you know, it's a pretty darn good defensive EX. At range 3 EX, it is above curve. At range 4, it is above curve by default. And it does a ton of damage at a cost that Treasure Knight can almost certainly afford. Maelstrom Chest is good at closing games. Alright, player choosing their second character now. Looks like Zain has made his selection. We are now waiting on Chykka. Alright, so players are revealing, and we have Iaquis versus 9 the Phantom. Alright. This should be exciting. Iaquis from Season 2, that 7th cross, uses transformations. Let's see. Does either player have the reference out yet? No, not yet. 9 the Phantom, being from Season 5, that's Blaze Blue, uses the Astral Heats and Overdrive season mechanics. Excuse me. Alright, there's our transformation reminder card. Cards with transformations have it in place of the boost area of the card. And if you hit with the attack, or use the action to transform it, as described on this card here, it enters your transformation area. Go figure. Which means it is now in play permanently, and you basically have a upgraded character ability. It bolts on to whatever you already had to make you better, stronger, more interesting in some peculiar way. Iaquis has a few pretty threatening ones. Dragon Force, Single-Minded, and Growing Hatred. Growing Hatred, very good at maintaining economy. Alright. As lose at the previous game, 9 the Phantom will choose who goes first, and chooses to take first. Draws 5 cards, Iaquis draws 6. Both players very strong ranged characters. 9 with a plethora of options, although she starts with 1 copy of each of her specials and ultras in her sealed area, not in her deck, meaning she has a thinner deck to start with and she's likelier to have normals. But normals are good, so it's not usually an issue. Or I should say, not usually a significant drawback. More important is the knowledge of what it is that she has access to at any given time, which as her deck gets thin, increases rapidly for the opponents. Iaquis, as you can see by the huge variety of weapons that he is wearing, sword, spear, machete, axe, sword, axe, is a ranged character who excels at hurling unbeatable projectiles, or just lunging at his opponent from half the screen away. His character ability lets him initiate strikes face up to gain +2 power, so if he is sufficiently confident that he can just beat anything you play on defense, he can get immense value out of doing this. Even if he knows that you can play something that beats it, though, doing this can force you to play that answer, meaning he knows what options you're running out of, and can tailor the mid-game to his preferences. She's going to parry a Dragon Spine. Ooh, that is a very good projectile. It covers some of her options, notably Emerald of Enmity. And face up, it covers all of her projectiles, I believe. Yeah. And only loses to dive. Oh, Iaquis throwing the second copy. That is a face-up Dragon Spine. That is 7 power with after-gain advantage. She probably can't stun that. The question is, can she trade with it? Nope. She's gonna, well, trade in a sense. She's gonna hit for 5. He misses, but he gains advantage. Notably, though, with both of those whiffing, he's not going to get that transformation this game for a long time, if at all, and that will hurt him. If you're wondering what that little bit of Legend of May that happened on this side was, 9's character ability lets her, as a hit effect, add a card from her hand to her gauge to seal her attack during cleanup, if she doesn't have a copy sealed. So, that dive, which hit, goes to her sealed area. The Correlative Catastrophe that was in her sealed area, which looks like this, goes to her hand, and the Grasp goes to her gauge. Alright, which was in her hand. Iaquis initiating with a face-up Grasp, gonna hit for 3. She hits back for 3. 5 minus 2 equals 3. There we go. She hits back for 4, gets her hit effects. If she wants to get that Navy Pressure in hand, she can, again, add a card from her hand to her gauge to gain cleanup, seal your attack. Alright, she does so, adding that coral that we saw earlier. She draws for her after, and then she seals... Okay, did that slightly out of order, but it's fine. And then seals the focus, picking up the Navy Pressure. Alright, Iaquis initiated. I mean, obviously, that's why I was able to set it face up. Her turn, she's going to backstep, retreating to range 5. With both Dragon Spines down, Iaquis still has 2 options to hit range 5, because as I said, very obviously a ranged character. Looks like he's just going to run, however, going into melee at range 2. Either doesn't want to play a ranged fight against 9, or just doesn't have the options available right now. Alright, she's boosting Heliodor of Humility, which is like Defend, but it causes her to seal a card from hand. Looks like she is sealing a cross to pick up Emerald of Enmity, her speed 6 special, which is over here. At range 2, this doesn't really do anything, but Seamoss Gate is a useful utility boost, which lets her manipulate the options available to her at a minor resource cost. Also, if she ever does get to range 3 or greater, that attack is phenomenal at evading opponents. It is now Iaquis' turn. He only has 3 cards in hand, but she only has 4. With that Defend boost, she is likely to be able to tank his character ability if he chooses to strike face up, unless he plays something that does just an absolutely insane amount of damage, like an EX Dragon's Tail or something like that, or plays a, I don't know, Spike or Dive, which would obviously have a lot more ways to lose, but would ignore her defenses. He also could boost, he also could prepare, of course. Iaquis can get enough value out of the strikes he wins that he often doesn't shy away from sitting back for a few turns to take a deep breath. Alright, looks like both players have prepared. Turn comes back to Iaquis. Now with 5 cards in hand, he's a bit more dangerous. The more cards Iaquis has in hand, the more likely he is to have EX attacks. The more likely he is to have EX attacks, the more likely he is to be able to murder your face with impunity. Of course, he could also take the nicknamed EX transformation action. That's the action where you discard a copy of a card of transformation to transform the other copy from your hand. It's like playing an EX attack, but you don't strike. You just discard one, and then now you have the other transformation. It's a risk-free way to get transformations into play. However, Iaquis' attacks that have transformations are so good, he usually doesn't take this action. 6 power at speed 3, or if you initiate, 8 power, which is a reasonable number. It's not. Dragon's Flight, which is 5 power, although often it is 7 power. But sometimes it's only 3, which sucks. Looks like that was not the face-up spike I was hoping it would be. It is a defend. So both players have +1 armor, +3 guard, meaning whatever happens in the next strike, it's probably going to involve trading. Alright, she is paying the force cost for Sea Moss Gates to... Yeah, and then discarding the card she paid with force cost, with which she paid the force cost. That puts Morganites of Malice in her hands, the speed 5 special. She then gets to take another action per the boost Sea Moss Gate. Alright, it is her second action. And she's going to boost Flax Nurture. Draw 3, then shuffle 2 cards from your hand to your deck. Shuffling your hand so it isn't incredibly obvious whether or not she is shuffling back existing cards or new ones. You never know what people are paying attention to, so this is a good habit. Alright, shuffles 2 cards back, discards the boost, and then draws for end of turn. In some order. That is the wrong pile. There we go. We got there. It is now Iaquis' turn. Alright. So she's filtered through her deck. She's given herself a little bit of control over what she had in hands. That likely makes her less susceptible to reading, but it looks like Iaquis is checking the discard pile probably to see what normals are still available. Oh, no, this is a face-up dive, actually. That's quite exciting. She did drop both copies of Assaults, which means there's really only one card that beats, 2 cards that beat this. Cross Trades, and Lapis beats it. That's Lapis, alright. She's going to have to pay a force cost, and she will not hit. But Lapis has an after effect, which is move 1, and then for every 2 normals in your sealed area, which she currently has 4, she repeats the effect. So she is going to miss, but evade. It would also be her choice whether or not she just advances 1, because 1 movement is mandatory, or more than that, to manipulate Iaquis' ending position. Alright, she is advancing 2. Iaquis will then advance to range 3 and miss. And that was Iaquis' initiative. So it is now 9's turn. Alright, she's going to retreat 2 and take another action with Teleport Step. Iaquis, being a character who wields swords, axes, spears, and other bladed weapons, still has range 5 options. Yes, I'm going to keep making that joke. Dragon's Fire, which is honestly a pretty mediocre projectile. And Dragon's Flight, which is a really good projectile, except that he's the projectile, it's not a projectile. It's a big hunk of Tatsumaki's and Pikachu, sorry, that's a Street Fighter reference, actually. If I'm not mistaken, they were the first ones to have that term, and that's where it became popularized. It's one of the tools in Ryu and Kin's arsenals. But yeah, basically big ol' spinning kick. Alright, well, she has her second action still accessible unless I missed something. Probably deciding whether it's worth it to strike. Considering Dragon's Flight cleanly beats her Kunzite and her... Uh-oh, we have a reading. Most exciting. Unsuccessful, but not a very impressive hand. Yep, that's Assault, Grasp, Tongue, and Tail. All of Iaquis' cards start with the word dragons, because well, dragon. This telegraph, depending on what she calls, this telegraphs Navy pressure. Because that is the highest yield payout that she can do. I think it's one unaccounted for. She boosted one earlier after retrieving from a sealed area, so I think it's one unaccounted for. This could also be a kunzite, which would be pretty safe, except against Dragon's Flight. Or it could be that! Alright. Flame Punisher is actually phenomenally safe. It does lose to the dragon's tail in hand, but very clearly Iaquis did not expect that. Wow, okay. She will hit him for... She will pay her gauge. For her Ultra. Then hit for 7, push him to the wall, and draw some cards. Whoops. There we go. Alright. Iaquis, recognizing that he is currently helpless at range 6, is going to take the move action, moving into range 3, where he has a lot more tools at his disposal. She has dropped the one known copy of Emeralds, so as far as I can recall, she is pretty low on fast options here. There's one Emerald that's unaccounted for, unless I misremember again. Both assaults are down, at least one Morganite is down, and I actually think both of them, but not 100% sure. At any rate, oh, and I wasn't paying attention to what he discarded, actually. So some of that hand is still known, but probably just the specials. Typically, you wouldn't keep known normals, because that is a death wish. Especially against a character who is based on controlling her options at any given time. Like, with a focus in her sealed area, she is likely to be able to get that back to hand on demand in an emergency. Alright, looks like she's going to boost defense, giving her better trading potential into anything Iaquis throws. If he has the other dive, then he still has good odds here. We'll see what happens. Well, good odds, except he would still lose the emeralds. But it would cost her a force, and he would only take 2 damage. The big question then is whether he's willing to risk the follow-up that would happen after she hit with an emerald. Alright, looks like Iaquis is checking 9's discard pile. Gonna try to figure out what the outstanding threats are. Yeah, there's a lot of information available. She only has 12 cards left. Just making sure you can get a look at that sealed area. Iaquis with 21 cards left. Iaquis now counting his own discard pile. Might this be the legendary face-up Wild Swing? Probably not. I think if you make that kind of play when you're down on life... Well, honestly, depending on how down on life you are, it might be worth it just for the laughs. But regardless, I think making that kind of play is not especially representative of players who make it this far in a tournament. I think both of these players do have one loss under their belts, which means that the loser of this will be eliminated from the brackets. However, getting this far is no mean feat. We're all winners here, except me. I didn't participate, but they're both winners here. That's how they got here. Alright. Move action to... or change cards, possibly. Change cards, okay. Spending 2 force, draw. Yep. Not going to hang on to that that dragon's tail. Always sad to see it go. What a card. On the other hand, if your opponent knows it's coming, which usually they will, it loses handily to grasp and dive, usually cross, host of other things. Alright, 9 prepares. Iaquis checking the discard pile again. This has the familiar scent of a nascent reading. On the other hand, Iaquis players tend to be very, very aware of their opponent's options because they want to know what they can use safely to face up strike. It is a little unfortunate that by this point in the game we have not seen Iaquis let out a Dragon's Roar. A very potent boost that gives him a huge surge of economy. It skips his draw step completely, sorry I meant this one, but it draws 5 cards immediately. It's often something that people will mulligan for, although we do know that Iaquis had both copies of Dragon Spine in his opening hand, so pretty understandable to just kind of hang on to that. Parry? Not a face-up block, so that your block could have +2 power. We'll find out momentarily either what the call was. Kunzite, apparently. Alright, gets rid of the Kunzite. And now that block is safe against the Kunzite. Wait a minute. Anyway. That's one of the running jokes, right? Parry the spike so that the spike can't beat your block. Alright, it is now Nine's turn. She prepares. Up to 6 cards in hand. Why the Kunzite? Dragon's Roar. There it is. Draw 5 cards immediately and skip your draw step while it is in play. It is a continuous boost. So it's not skip your draw step this turn, it is just you don't have a draw step while this is out. This does mean that if 9 just sits around doing nothing, Iaquis could decide to just draw more cards. Can't do it very quickly though, since he no longer has an end of turn draw. An end of turn draw, excuse me. Alright, 9 with a 10 life lead, which nonetheless is tenuous. If not for these specific cards that we know that Iaquis has dropped, this would not look particularly comfortable for her, because 10 life can evaporate very quickly when you're up against Iaquis. Alright, she is initiating at range 3. Iaquis checking the discard pile. Iaquis with 8 cards in hands. Feels reasonably likely that he will respond with an EX attack if he thinks he has one that will overturn his odds. If she's initiating with Emeralds, it loses to Dragon's Flight. If she's initiating with Dive, it loses to the other copy of Dragon's Tongue, or possibly Assault. She could be playing Cross for all I know. Oh, or Sweep. Iaquis has dropped at least one spike, and maybe both, I'm not sure. Some interesting mix-up shapes here. Yeah, a Sweep here on offense would be pretty interesting. Or her Sweep shape, which is Amethyst. When Amethyst lands, it pushes the opponent back and gains you advantage, if it pushes them. So it doesn't gain advantage against focus, or if the opponent has their back to the wall already. That tends to be a pretty punishing attack to get hit by. It's essentially a mid-speed. Like, it fills a double role in terms of being a slow and a mid-speed, depending on what it's interacting with. But on offense, at least, it usually functions as a mid-speed. Alright, Iaquis, once again checking that discard pile. Yeah. Iaquis, Chun-Li, and Treasure Knight is the team. Iaquis to me stands out as the one least likely to have defensive or conservative play patterns, but we can see from how aware this Iaquis is of what options his opponent is likeliest to have at this moment in time, that he's running essentially the same kind of logic that he was for Treasure Knight, of how do I filter the most things the most effectively? How do I make myself the safest? Whereas most Iaquis players that I've seen will tend to try to be the most punishing. Alright, it was the dive calling out that sweep. Going to advance and hit for 4, which does not stun, but it does evade thanks to the effect on dive. Alright, 9 initiated, it is now Iaquis' turn. Range 1. Okay, I think Iaquis still has a decent number of range 1 threats live. Pardon me. Once again, checking discard pile. 9 at 10 remaining cards, so probably just trying to determine what all 10 of them are. Might be looking to play an offensive sweep or focus or the other copy of Dragon's Tail. Just trying to make sure I've got my anatomy right. Tail, tongue, spine, flight, fire, descent, heart. What? Be careful when you're manipulating the cards in your hand so you don't accidentally tip information like that. But yeah, what part of the dragon is the flight exactly? It's not the wing, right? It's the flight. Well, 9 with a little bit of time to kill. Checks Iaquis discard pile. We have a parry. Kind of a win-win here, right? If you get the card you want, that's great. If not, you get to see a hands. That gives you some much needed information. Alright, hand has, alright, the parry was Amethyst. Hand has Block, Spike, Grasp, Navy Pressure, and Coral of Catastrophe. The Iaquis player taking a moment to write down the contents of that hand. And draws for his turn. Alright, now 9's turn. Likely to get rid of those normals one way or another, although that will still cause her to dig deep into that deck. It looks like that was a change cards too, keeping the block. Yeah, with only 2 cards left in deck, if Iaquis was planning a reading, there's probably no better time to do it. Well, unless Iaquis wanted to read one of those cards that just dropped. We are now a little over an hour. So if you haven't been drinking water, please do so. I know I say this a lot. That's because it's important. It is good for your health. And there are limits to that, but I wouldn't worry about reaching them. Eight cards left on 9 side of the field. Iaquis making sure he knows all of them. There's the reading. There's the face-up tail. That is an 8 power tail, going to hit the block. Oh. Reading block. Interesting. I guess Iaquis really wanted this transformation. I mean, the block was known, so this is a guaranteed reading. Alright, 9 paying at least 2 force. It's going to take the 2 damage. That's interesting. I also would have expected her to take 0. Iaquis then retreats with his after effect. He now is single-minded in play. This transformation is often pivotal in in-game states. Having set immunity isn't super great when you have like 2 or 3 life. However, initiating with something that gets +2 power if the opponent tries to defend with the same printed speed, that's phenomenal. And if you ever manage to play a reversal, this becomes unbelievably good on defense. A reversal referring to an attack that's above curve on defense. So in particular, if your opponent plays cross and then you play EX cross, well now you have an EX cross with +2 power. If they play assault, but you respond to the EX assaults, well now you have a 7 power EX assaults. And that feels pretty good. It also makes him a little bit safer against EX attacks. Alright, 9 initiating with a single card. Well, this telegraphs the cross, but that does lose to flight, and it is crossed and it is flight. She's going to retreat 3, and he's going to advance 3. He takes 3, she takes 5. He stays close. Uncharacteristically close, actually. Importantly, Iaquis now has 2 transformations, if he wants them. He could actually get engaged here. When you hit an attack with transformation, you don't have to transform it, you can also add its gauge as normal. So he now has your attacks of after, you may add this card to your gauge at the end of the strike. These 2 things combined are pretty phenomenal. It means that, for example, he can defend with Spike. And then guess what? He's not getting stunned by Spike, because his Spike has stun immunity if you play Spike. So he's guaranteed to get gauge off that. Not sure if he has any spikes left. Let's see, 9 initiated, so it is now Iaquis' turn. Ooh, looks like an EX attack. Yep, face up EX, that is speed 6, power 7? Yep, 7. 3 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2. You might be wondering why there's a +1 power on a hit trigger. Like, there's no condition on it, so it will always happen, right? There is a reason for that. It's his Exceed mode. Time will tell if that's going to come into play this game, but Iaquis' Exceed mode lets him bolt triggers together to create fusion attacks. It's pretty awesome. Alright. Well, we know that 9 has dropped both copies of Lapis Lazuli of Lamentation, so she doesn't have a lot that deals with this. Yep, and she's going to take the 7. Chose to Wild Swing so she could conserve her resources. Iaquis also draws a card. She drops to 6 life. And it is now her turn. She needs to end the game in a hurry. With only 6 life remaining, there's a good chance that Iaquis can initiate with something that just becomes unbeatable. Her ability to trade into his tools is limited. Striking with a single card. Alright, well, Iaquis called this out correctly. We know it's not cross. So the likeliest play is some manner of mid-speed. He defends with assaults. Okay, he's going to hit first, so she takes 4. She then hits for 5, because she's not stunned. Pushes him back to range 3 and gains advantage. Alright. He gained advantage, then she gained advantage, so she's the one who has it. She's the one who gained it last, so it's hers. Now with advantage, she's at range 3. Initiating with Coral. Alright, Iaquis crosses out. She misses, and it is now Iaquis' turn. Whew, 6 life to 2. Things are dicey for both players. I'm expecting Iaquis to either change cards or perhaps reshuffle. Now, depending on what's left in that deck, he might just choose to Wild Swing. However, there's not much reason, actually we pretty much know, right? There's 1 fire, there's 1 flight, and there's 1 descent, all of which are great. So he might choose to strike. However, there's not much reason to set it face up if he does, since all of those have the very high chance of dealing lethal. Looks like both players are checking the discard pile to confirm Iaquis' 8 remaining cards. Nine with both Lapises and both crosses down is pretty short on movement options. I'm unsure if she has a copy of Emerald remaining. Emerald would beat 2 of the options I just named, but it would still lose to Dragon's Descent, which is his Ultra. Alright, Iaquis checking his discard pile. May also be evaluating, just based on what exact configuration of cards are left in the deck, whether it's worth it to exceed right now. As I think I mentioned earlier, each transformation he has in play reduces his exceed cost by 2. That is the icon at the very bottom right of the character card. That shows the transformation icon, which is an Ouroboros symbol, with a -2. So his exceed cost is 5, except he has 2 transformations, so it's actually 1. So he could exceed for free. Well, it's not for free, for cheap. If he had a 3rd transformation, he could exceed for free, but he doesn't. And there is, of course, no such thing as a negative cost, right? If he had 3 transformations, the exceed cost would be reduced from 5 to 0. Alright, we are seeing paying 3 force to either move or change cards. 4 force. Alright, change cards 4. Gonna make sure that he can draw into that deck to get the answers he needs to whatever he thinks 9 is about to throw. Or to have the questions to throw when it's his turn to initiate. So I'm pretty sure at least one of those projectiles, possibly both, are still live. And by projectiles I mean, of course, Dragon's Flight, which is not a projectile. Sorry. Or Dragon's Fire, which is. He no longer has the gauge for Dragon's Descent. And of course it's possible that I just missed something. But those are relatively awkward for a 9 to have to answer at this stage in the game. If she happens to be holding the other copy of Emeralds, like if she saved Emeralds, then she can be safe very briefly against those. And only slightly safe. It's looking like he is checking the discard pile. Yep, 9 is going to reshuffle. She's also checking her own discard pile. So she has 3 cards remaining. 1 card in deck, 2 in hand, so that card is fully deducible. So they are taking a moment to figure that out. I'm only assuming this is a reshuffle action, by the way. I saw 9 pick up her deck and drop it. That is my assumption. This could be a wild swing. It'd be pretty spicy. Nine initiating. Morganite is gonna work, actually. Yeah, that pulls 5. So she hits for 4, pulls 5, which takes him to range 1, and then he advances 3 spaces because he's not stunned. And then he misses. He does have an after effect, so he may choose to add that to his gauge. And he does. Alright, well they're now at range 3, and it's Iaquis' turn. Depending on what 2 cards 9 has left, this might prove to have been a terrible mistake. We'll find out soon. Well, we'll find out eventually. So typically an Iaquis player would choose to exceed here if they had access to an assault or a dive, since that lets them attach dive or assaults before effect to another attack to make something that hits at obscenely good range. Alright, going to boost Swift Destruction. That is a +4 speed boost. Paying the cost with Focus. Or not. Deciding what to pay the cost with. So Swift Destruction is good at ending games very abruptly. Depending on what 9 has left, she just might not be able to do anything about this. And that hand's probably going to show us what is being threatened. Yeah, Speed 7 Spike is pretty good. That is Sweep Spike in both Ultras. Doesn't have the gauge for the Ultras, but doesn't really need it. We have a Speed 6 Sweep and a Speed 7 Spike both being threatened, about which 9 can do nothing. She also can't use her Astral right now, so her only recourse is going to be probably to take the move action. Yeah, reshuffling doesn't help you here, because Speed 7 Spike is unbeatable except by EX Lapis in this case. If she stays at range 3, then her destruction will assuredly be swift. Or if she goes range 2. That also works. I probably should have zoomed in on that boost, but yeah, it's a good boost. So typically when Iaquis plays this in the early to mid game, it means you have to initiate into him, because otherwise he's going to initiate into you for +2 power and +4 speed, with something absolutely unbeatable. However, if he plays at range 2 or 3, that often means that he has a completely unstoppable spike. What is this? Want to see the sealed area? There it is, bottom right. I'm kind of expecting just a series of tense footsies turns where both players take the move action turn after turn to try to create an inescapable setup, and then eventually Iaquis strikes with something face up that he draws after his reshuffle. We'll see. 9 also has the option of shooting herself in the foot right here. Alright, yeah, there's the move action. Going to retreat and draw that last card. Her hand is effectively known. 2 cards left. Yep, it's got an Emerald and a Navy Pressure. Iaquis probably going to go back to range 3. Although, notably, he will not be safe if he does. 9 can now play that tech if she wants. So the boost on Emerald is Seamoss Gate, which lets her, at a cost of 1 force, seal a card from her discard and take another action. So she can seal a speed 4 card from her discard to pick up dive from a sealed area and then play tech. That said, it's probably still Iaquis' best option to keep the threat high. He might decide to roar and just draw a million cards. Well, 5, but rounding. Yeah, so the 2 likeliest plays on Iaquis' sides, I guess there's 3 likely plays. The 2 likeliest are to discard, I don't know, Sweep and Dragon's Heart to go to range 3. Keep that spike threat live. Force her to attack. Play number 2 is to boost Dragon's Roar to draw a million cards. Alright, this is the other move action, right? So he knows he's about to get teched, so he's making sure that he keeps that other Swift Destruction in order to be able to boost it next turn. What? That's too much force. Alright, yeah, 9 apparently taking the move action is willing to gamble. With +4 speed, that sweep is now a speed 6, power 8 if he plays face up. But it still loses to grasp. So 9 is gambling very, very hard here. Of course, that other card might just be something even more unbeatable, like perhaps Assault or Dragon's Tongue. Yeah. If Iaquis initiates at speed 6 or 7, 9 might actually be able to win. Very low chances, but is that something you really want to lead chance? Also, they are in melee, which does make things a little awkward for Iaquis. All of his swords, spears, axes. You know, what card are they going to do him at range 1? Life is 2-2, and it's game 2 of the set. Almost no action here is without risk, depending on what that card was. Plays another Swift Destruction for +4 speed. Alright, well, that sure is a speed 10 sweep coming up. Even if 9 prepares, she probably doesn't, like, even if she prepares and manages to draw a block, she probably doesn't have the force to block it on Iaquis' turn. This looks like a change cards. Yep, spinning 3 force, draw a total of 4 cards. Alright. This is, yeah. Gonna be lethal. Power 8, speed 10. Good game. No blocks in hand. Yeah, the second Swift Destruction, typically overkill, but certainly sealed the deal in this case. Alright, that game goes to Iaquis, which means Chykka takes the set 2-0. Congratulations, Chykka. Let's switch to our transitional, and I'll ask if the players want to chat for minutes. And yeah, we now know that that card in hand was in fact Azurite Inferno, so it was the correct play for Iaquis to play that second Swift Destruction. Alright. Howdy, folks.
Oh.
Hey, good games.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Intense set. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make the comeback in the second game.
Those were both very exciting, like very, very close, very, very tense.
Yeah, no, it's just the. I think this is the one matchup I don't think I was super prepared for, but also knew that the one thing you need to make sure his spine was out of hand. So you know.
You did that, and it certainly helped.
The reason I played my second spine right away was that you parried it, which suggested to me that you didn't have a dive to defend against the spine, which is why I played it face up.
Yeah.
I think I would have done that too. It's just an awesome attack. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd throw that for days. Oh man, somebody remarked like Iaquis with no transformations for most of that game was a rare sight. But things started to turn around for him once he finally got them into play.
Yeah. The reveal. Unfortunately, the really annoying thing is I had, like, if I just had one more turn, I would have had. Like, if that +4 speed wasn't there, I would have been able to, you know, maybe do something. But seeing as how he has focus and the other thing in hand, it's probably more than likely wouldn't have happened. But
yeah, Chykka was very careful to defend that in game.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to the stream about what was likely and what was going to happen, and I called it wrong. I thought you would kind of play the like obvious threat of hold that spike over the opponent's head, but. And discard the second top of Swift Destruction. Playing the second Swift Destruction was clearly correct here because it turned this from speed 6 to speed yes, and that was exactly what you needed to be confident that you had the speed and the damage.
Yeah, I was thinking that he didn't have that many resources left, so even if he blocked into this face-up sweep, basically he would have no cards, and then I had a focus left, which would be really hard to deal with.
Yep.
Like.
Yep, makes perfect sense. Yeah, when you like, a lot of folks were wondering if you were just gonna strike with your other card, right? But sweep at speed 6, or now we know it was a focus, right? At speed 1, like focus does actually cover the Inferno. Or, sorry, not speed 1, speed 5. But like at speed 5, it's relatively unsafe. You know, it's not. It's hard to say that it's guaranteed because there is a cross in there that loses to. There is Lapis that it loses to.
I forgot Inferno was 1 gauge. I was thinking it was 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, I thought that's specifically what you were covering with the sweep, where it's like, well, you can play a face-up sweep here, and lose to Grasp, Inferno, and Lapis, or.
Yeah, I just realized he had 3 speed 7 still up, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's.
Yep, 3 speed 7s and a speed 8. Fantastic. Well, good call. Well played to both. Thank you very much for letting me stream and for
thanks for streaming.
It's been a fun time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great time.
Yeah. Thanks for the game.
Die with glory, Zain, and good luck with the rest of the tournament, Chykka.
That was a really intense set. Yeah, I was really close to losing both times.
Alright.
Yeah, I just need to zone him out a little bit better next time.
Alright, I'm gonna duck out and see y'all later.
Alright, see ya.
What a great set. Alright. Well, with that, Chykka continues to advance, and I believe we'll next play the winner of... who was it? I don't know. Where's that challenge line? I got it. The winner of Banazama versus Helios of Flame. Whew. Man, I'm not even sure I'd want to be Chykka at this position, having to face one of those two players in the third round of losers to go on to, so I guess that's losers semifinals, and then losers finals, and then you go to grand finals. I don't know, double limb is a little bit messy, but it's a good time, and get a lot of games in.